channel. Onto the main account. Yeah, it's still loading onto the channel as I speak. It's taking its sweet time loading up, as YouTube normally does. Okay, so the game audio is working, party audio is working, the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. That's absolutely fantastic. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 8 of the PlayStation America series here on Race Spec Esports. I'm LaneEveringham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for the British Grand Prix. One of the most historically significant circuits in the world of motorsport. Silverstone was originally an RAF airfield used during the Second World War. It was turned into a racetrack in 1947, and in 1950 it would host the first ever Formula One World Championship race. Within the 7 decades between then and now, Silverstone has turned itself into one of Europe's and one of the world's premier racing facilities. Its layout measures up at 3.65 miles and consists of 18 corners and 2 DRS zones that lead down the Wellington Straight into Turn 6 Brooklands and down the Hangar Straight into Turn 15 Stowe Corner. These two areas will prove to be prime overtaking spots, amongst a couple of others such as the Turn 3 hairpin of Village and the Turn 16-17 chicane of Vale. For the rest of the circuit, drivers will have to be mindful of several technical sections, most notably the incredibly fast Copse Corner at Turn 9, and the most famous part of the circuit, the Maggots, Beckett's, Chapelesses, formed by Turns 10 through 14. These corners have very fine margins for error, so a single mistake could prove costly. Being a well-known, well-raced circuit, qualifying tends to be very close and very competitive, and races tend to be quite similar too, which is fantastic as this is the second sprint round of the championship. Now, before we focus on qualifying, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race at Suzuka. There were no incident reports whatsoever from last week's race, so the final finishing results stand. In the Drivers' Championship, Nico leading the way on 154 points, followed by JBH on 130. Mighty Wombat is P3 on 126, followed by Axis on 114. Then KD rounds out the top 5 on 99 points. He is absent for today's race. SC Collider is next on 74, followed by Blockman on 70. The two Williams drivers of Rafa and Captain Schmeg are P8 and 9, and rounding out the top 10 is Shizant in the Red Bull on 45 points. In the Constructors, McLaren are leading the way on 225 points, followed by AlphaTauri on 154. McLaren leagues ahead of the rest of the field in the Constructors at the moment. Mercedes are third on 147, followed by Aston Martin on 131, then Red Bull Racing on 103. P6 and P7 are held by Alpine and Williams. They both have 102 points, as Rafixa has a moment coming around Club Corner. Parks the car to let some of the other cars through. And he'll get himself going just shortly. P8 in the Constructors is Haas on 82, followed by Ferrari on 51. And at the bottom of the table is Alfa Romeo on 28 points. Well, that's pretty much it in terms of news. We can now focus on what should hopefully be an interesting session. I've got a message from Rebellion, or Rebel Lion. It's gone rain, according to him. It's not raining here in qualifying as JBH joins the session, so we should have a 16 car field for both the sprint and the main race. Be it nice and dry for qualifying. It'll be interesting to see what it's like in the sprint and in the main race, because, as he said, it's going to rain. So it should be interesting. No one's put a time on the board just yet. Still have drivers setting their first flying laps of the session. Blockman here is making his way down the Hangar Straight, and I just realised something. That was silly of me. Switch that to miles per hour. There we are. That'll be a bit nicer, I'd say. Still yet to have a driver set a flying lap. I believe Blockman will be the first driver to complete one here. He'll cross the line to set a 1 minute 27.846. That's the benchmark for everybody to try and beat. Black Baller making his way out of Luffield around Woodcote and onto the old pit straight. Used to be the pit straight of the Silverstone circuit before 2011. Now the pit straight has moved after Club Corner and before Abbey. Includes a nice infield section that's actually provides some interesting battles in recent times here on Race Spec, particularly Pacific Elite and Pacific Tier 1. You see a few battles going on through there. Hopefully in the America Series we see a bit of that as well. As Black Baller makes his way around Stowe, turn 15 on the racetrack, up towards the Vale chicane, another potential overtaking spot on the racetrack, the chicane of turn 16 and 17, and up towards one tricky final corner, Club Corner, turn 18. It's very easy to get on the throttle too much and lose control of the car. Bit like that Red Bull, I think, losing control at Stowe. And a Williams doing a bit of lawn mowing there on the inside of Luffield as Nico jumps to the top with a 1 minute 27.668. We saw some rapid times in both Pacific Elite and Pacific Tier 1. We saw the pole lap in Pacific Tier 1 was a 1 minute 26.5. Ridiculous times were set during that event. It'll be interesting to see how close these fellas get as Rebellion makes his way around Chapel as Mighty Wombat jumps to the top by 1,000th of a second. He set a 1 minute 27.667, beating Nico, who did a 1 minute 27.668. Literally 1,000th of a second separating the top two at the beginning stages of qualifying. Around Club Corner to complete the lap for Rebellion. He'll cross the line. It's a 28.6 P5 for him in front of his teammate Collider. Underwood getting ready. He's on an outlap, making his way through Brooklands. Blacks making his way around Cops Corner, turn 9. Very fast, very intense corner. Very easy to get it wrong. Making his way through the S's now on Maggots and Beckett's around turn 13. Then Chapel, turn 14. And onto the Hangar Straight, making his way up towards Stowe. Shifting it into 8th gear. We'll see speeds climbing towards 200 miles an hour. Peak speed of 202 there for Blacks. Short shifting up to 6th gear. Midway through Stowe, trying to find traction on the exit. Clobbering the curbs through the chicane. And then around the Club Corner to complete the lap. Blacks will set a 28.1. Goes P4 with that lap. Underwood getting ready here. Tell you what, we might ride on board with the Ferrari driver who got his full-time seat with Ferrari last week. We'll use him to give us a guided tour of this legendary 3.6 mile racetrack. Around the final turn and onto the Hamilton Straight, heading up towards Abbey turn 1. 8th gear, is it flat? It is flat from Underwood, well done. Through turn 2, into the hairpin of Village, turn 3. Down to 3rd gear, short shifting to 4th. Now around the loop, turn 4. Very important corner on the racetrack because it will dictate how much speed you carry around Aintree, turn 5, and more critically, down the Wellington Straight, heading towards Brooklands, turn 6. One of the better overtaking spots on the circuit. Now into the right-hander of Luffield, turn 7. 3rd gear, will he short shift? No, he doesn't. Uses all of 3rd gear on the exit. Uses a healthy amount of curb. He makes his way around Woodcote as Captain Schmaker's left the session. Down the old pit straight towards Cops Corner. 7th gear. Hits the apex pretty spot on there. Uses a healthy amount of curb on the exit as well. Now into the famous S's of Maggots and Beckett's. Heading up towards turn 12 through turn 13. Then into Chapel. Turn 14. And onto the Hangar Straight. 8th gear. Climbing towards 200 miles an hour. Blackley saw 202. For Underwood's 201, just a little bit slower. Around Stowe, turn 15. 6th gear. Using a healthy amount of curb on the exit. You have to use the full width of the racetrack here at Silverstone because of how tight qualifying tends to be. Out of the Vale chicane and towards Club Corner to complete the lap. It's a 27.8. It's P3 for Underwood. Just behind Nico and Mighty Wombat. Now, Nico's still in the pit lane. Blockman has just started a flying lap. Currently P4 with a 27.846. He is 39 thousandths of a second behind Underwood, and he's just found a 10.5 in the first sector. Heading up towards Luffield, fourth gear, bringing it down to third, down to second in fact. Short shifting back up to third. Fourth gear, fifth gear on the exit, towards Woodcote, and up towards Copse Corner. He'll shift it into top gear, then he'll bring it back down for seventh, through Copse. Then he'll shift it back up to top gear, heading up towards the famous S's. Through turn 10, 11, into 12, then 13, down to 5th gear, brings it back up to 6th, uses all of the grass and too much of it in fact. He invalidates that flying lap. He actually lost a little bit of time to that middle sector, so it wasn't perfect from Blockman, but he definitely nailed that first sector. He could have been challenging for pole position right there. Mighty Wombat, meanwhile, makes his way onto the Hamilton Straight to begin his flying lap. Down towards Abbey, turn 190 miles an hour, the entry speed. We're hitting just over 180 miles an hour at the apex of turn 1. Ridiculously fast corner. Very easy to cut too much of the inside, though. I've done that on several occasions here at Silverstone, just cutting too much of the inside. Around Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight. Shifted up into top gear, heading up towards the first sector split, and he's up by 62 thousandths of a second. Coming out of Brooklands into Luffield, down to third gear, getting back on the accelerator, short shifting, up to fourth, up to fifth, heading up towards Woodcote. Seventh gear, into eighth gear, heading up towards Copse Corner, 193 miles an hour, the entry speed, apex speed, just under 170, ridiculously fast corner, Copse. And to think, it used to be the original turn 1 on the pre-2011 layout. Heading up towards Chapel now, onto the Hangar Straight. Middle sector says he's found plenty of time, and then some, 2.5 tenths to the middle sector as he heads up towards Stowe. 205 miles an hour, the entry speed there from Mighty Wombat. He is significantly quicker than some of the other drivers I've seen. Through the Vale chicane, fourth gear, or a little bit of a wiggle on the exit, but he keeps the car nice and straight, crosses the line, and lost time, in fact, in that final sector. He lost all that time he gained with a mistake through that sector. Didn't quite pick up on it. Might have been through Stowe, could have been through Vale. But no, he lost all those 2.5 tenths he found. Nico, meanwhile, is up by 0.5 tenth to the first sector. He's heading up towards the S's now. 8th gear. He'll chuck it in flat out through turn 10, through turn 11, small lift there, down to 7th gear, down to 6th gear, down to 5th, back up into 6th gear, through Chapel. Middle sector says he's found 3 tenths. He's found a whole heap of time in the middle sector. Now he just needs to put the final sector together, and he'll be able to snatch pole position away from Mighty Wombat. Nice run out to Stowe, heading up towards Vale. Down through the gears, down to 2nd gear, short shifting, back up to 3rd, up to 4th gear on the exit. Oh, rides the sausage curve on the outside there. You do have to be careful with that, but it's a 27.1. He found 0.5 second on that lap. My goodness, he's found a lot of time. It'll be difficult for the other drivers to find that much time. See what they can do. Saucy's currently up by 1/10 of a second to the first sector. Motion God has retired from the session. So has Guitar Hero. Forgot to mention Guitar Hero has to serve a qualifying ban. He was meant to serve it last week at Suzuka, but he didn't attend. So this race here at Silverstone, he'll be serving a qualifying ban. He'll be starting from 16th for the sprint race. Saucy hasn't found any time to the middle sector, but he's still up by 1/10 overall. He's currently P5 with a 27.8. With this improvement, he can jump up quite a few places, but he elects to come back in. And that's because of the clock. There's only 4.5 minutes left in quali. The outlaps and the in-laps here are very long. More importantly, the pit lane is massive. It's taken at 37 miles an hour, so it takes an eternity to get through the pit lane. So you need to be very careful how much time you give yourself for your final flying lap attempt. And that's exactly what he's done. He's come back into the pits. He's going to put on a fresh set of tyres and go out right at the death of qualifying. He has run out of fuel. So he's crawling back to pit lane. A Ferrari's coming by. That'll be Hash. He's on a flying lap. Yeah, JBH, he needs to be careful of the clock as well. He should be able to make it back and then get back out again. He should be okay. Hash making his way through the Vale chicane and up towards Club Corner. The final turn on the racetrack. Crosses the line. P10 for the Ferrari driver. 1 minute 28.590. Blockman's currently out there. Will he come into pit lane? No, he's going to complete this flying lap. Haven't caught his sector time so far. It looks like a pretty tidy final sector. He'll come around the final corner to cross the line to set a 27.7. Improves by a tenth. It's P3 with that lap. Puts him 600ths in front of Underwood in P4. And just under a tenth of a second behind Mighty Wombat in P2. Some of the drivers are migrating out of the pit lane. They're getting ready for their final runs in this qualifying session with the sun setting over Britain as I speak. So the track temps becoming more ideal. Track evolution is going to play a big part. So leaving your final run as late as possible is going to benefit you quite a bit. Saucy's out there on track. Blacks is getting ready to leave pit lane. Rebellion's heading down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands. Collider's getting ready as well. Hash, his session is over. He'll go into the pit lane and retire from the session. Meanwhile, Axis is up by a tenth of a second to the first sector. He's on what could be his final run in qualifying around Luffield, heading out of the right-hander, up through the gears. A nice tidy exit, no oversteer. No wheel spin either, as Captain Schmeg has rejoined the session. Towards Copse Corner, down to 7th gear. Back to full acceleration. Using plenty of curb on the outside, but not too much. You don't want to get too greedy with the outside curb there. Through the S's now. Around turn 12, around 13. Down to 5th gear. Back up to 6th gear through the final part of the S's. And he's up by 3.5 tenths to the middle sector. But he needs to get this final sector pretty spot on. Entry speed, 196 miles an hour. That's considerably slower than some of the other drivers I've seen, suggesting that he might have a wet weather setup on that car. Around Vale, heading up towards the final corner. It'll be a 1 minute 28.2. It's P8 for Axis. Rebellion making his way through the first sector. Blacks getting ready to set his final flying lap. Saucy in the middle of his, or rather at the beginning of his, making his way out of the loop, heading up towards Aintree. Rebellion to the first sector. He does not improve. He's down by a tenth and a half. Saucy, meanwhile, is he up? He is by a tenth of a second to the first sector. I believe Mighty Wombat and Nico, they're getting ready. For some reason, the outlap indicator just sort of disappears, even though they're still on an outlap. It's very strange. Underwood heading up towards the first sector split. What does the clock say for the Ferrari driver? He's down, but not by much, by only 28 thousandths of a second. Rebellion, meanwhile, making his way through the S's of Maggots and Beckett's, heading up towards Chapel. What does the middle sector say for the Alpine driver? He's up by almost 2 tenths of a second. Saucy, meanwhile, is he up? He is up by 2.5 tenths of a second. Needs to find a bit more time here in the final sector. Heading up towards Stowe, 8th gear, bringing it down to 5th gear. Will he short shift? Oh, doesn't need to. Uses all of 5th gear at the exit there. And now the timer has hit 0. These are the final runs in this session. Rebellion will cross the line. He jumps up to P6 with a 28 flat. Saucy, meanwhile, crosses the line. He jumps up to P2 with a 27.596. Mighty Wombat, meanwhile, making his way towards Copse Corner. He's up by 29 thousandths to the first sector. Underwood has made a mistake. He's down by 14 seconds. His qualifying is over. Meanwhile, Nico's down a lot to the first sector, so he doesn't look like he can improve. So it's down to Wombat. Can he knock off Nico to the middle? Oh, he's invalidated. He has invalidated this lap. His session is over. Blacks jumps up to P5 with a 27.7. Anyone else? JBH, maybe? He's up by 3.5 tenths. He'll come around the final corner to cross the line. P7 for JBH, improving by 4 tenths to set a 28 flat. Black Baller has to complete his run. He's up by 54 thousandths to the middle sector. He's heading up towards the Vale chicane. That sort of improvement. He can jump Hash. He'll be just outside of the top 10. Can he find any time here in the final sector? He'll cross the line and jumps up to P11. Does indeed overtake Hash with a 1 minute 58.561. So that's it. The end of qualifying. And it's a comfortable pole position for Nico, our championship leader. 1 minute 27.122. And as was mentioned from Rebellion, it's gone rain. So we've got some drivers with wet weather setups out there. I reckon Axis definitely has a wet weather setup. The peak speed he hit down the Hangar Straight was about 6 miles an hour slower than some of the other cars I saw. So it'll be interesting to see who got it right in terms of setup. But for now, at the end of qualifying, it'll be Nico who will start on pole position for the sprint race. 4 3/4 tenths of a second separating the top two, with Saucy in P2, Mighty Wombat in third, then Blockman, Blacks, Underwood, JBH, Rebellion, Axis, and Collider rounds out the top 10. And we've got Blackballer, Hash, Motion God, Refixer, Captain Schmeg, and Guitar Hero, who had to serve a qualifying ban, will start from the back of the field in 16th position. Alrighty. Now it's time for the sprint. Well, that's what I'm hearing, KD. We're going to see some rain. See how much rain we're going to get here in the sprint. Alrighty. How much is it going to rain? It not rain. It is dry. It is bones dry for the sprint. Alright. So it must be raining in the main race. Okay. Interesting. I don't know if those wet weather setups are going to work. Just, yeah, you'll be quicker in the main race, but you need track position here at Silverstone. You really do need it. It is a bit of a tough cookie to try and pass. 91%. Yeah, righto. Yeah, the rules here on Race Spec state that we use approximate weather instead of perfect. So, yeah, it will be a bit rough. You can see there are a few clouds about. See off into the distance, so we might get some wet weather during this one. Who knows? Lights go out and we start the formation lap. Let's see who's starting on what tyre, shall we? Oh, what do you know? Everyone's on the medium compound tyre. Oh, what a surprise. So that sort of suggests there isn't going to be any wet weather during this race in particular. Interesting. So we don't need that graphic. Can get rid of the tyre graphic. Don't need it. Everyone's on the same tyre. We'll just go through the order quickly. Again, Nico from pole position, Saltsy in second. Then we got Mighty Wombat in third, Blockman in fourth, and Blacks in P5, Underwood P6. And we've got JBH, Rebellion, Axis, Collider, Blackballer, Hash, Motion God, Refixer, Captain Schmeg, and Guitar Hero, starting from the back. No, you don't have to use the medium tyre. It's not mandatory at all. You can use the soft tyre if you really want to do. If you want to try and do a 9-lap stint on the soft tyre. If you're a masochist, you can do it on the hard tyre. You can do it on the inters, you can do it on the wets, you can do it on any type. There is no mandatory compounds for a sprint race. It's just a straight race. That's all it is. It's not like Formula 2 where you have mandatory pit stops and whatnot. It's just a straight race. You can use whatever you want. And by doing that, you can actually give yourself a little bit of flexibility for a dry race by saving a set of medium tyres if you want to. But here at Silverstone, because of the notoriously long pit lane, you can't do a two-stop. The only reason why you would do any more than one stop is because of safety cars. So, oh, Nico almost throws it off the road there. See, weaving about, trying to get temperature into his tyres. He's making his way back onto the main straight. There's the predicted. I don't know why that graphic even bothers to pop up. Of course, it's a no stop. Yeah, Nico taking his time, lining up. He'll be starting on the outside, heading towards turn 1. So he's on the racing line, he's on the cleaner side of the racetrack, but he is on the outside for turn 1. Sortsy, if he can get a better start, he'll have that inside line to turn 1, and he could take the lead, but he needs a nice start. All 16 cars are lined up, ready to race. We've got 10 red lights. And the sprint race is underway, and Captain Schmeg's been given a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. Oh, and a collision and a spin for Blockman. He's turned around 180 degrees, and he's plummeted down to last. Through turn 2, up towards turn 3. Wombat fighting around the outside of Saucy. That turns to the inside at turn 4. They're still side by side at the exit of the loop, heading around Aintree. Can the McLaren get in front? No, Saucy hangs on. Heading down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands. Bit of battling behind as Blacks tries to get by the Mercedes of JBH. They're side by side, heading around Luffield. Blacks looking around the long way. JBH covering the inside line, heading out of the right-hander, heading up towards Woodcote. It's a drag race now down towards Cops Corner. It's all single file, heading up towards the notorious turn 9. Everyone's getting through pretty okay. The only major loser, from what I noticed from the start, was Blockman. If I get up the graphic, ooh, Rebellion's lost a few places though. Underwood's down 3-2. The biggest loser by far is Blockman. Got collected in a spin on the opening lap, down in 16th place. Definitely not where you want to be. Mighty Wombat closing in, not by enough though to attack the Red Bull in front. Hash has overtaken Refixer. That is for P10. Captain Schmeg has overtaken Guitar Hero. That was for P12. Mighty Wombat getting very close to Saucy there under brakes, heading into the Vale chicane. Captain Schmeg has gone into pit lane. Interesting, so he might have got damage on that opening lap. His front wing looks okay. Oh, of course, he's got a drive-through. Never mind, I'm being stupid. He got a drive-through for jumping the start. That's right, never mind. Through the opening sector, heading around turn 4 and up towards Aintree turn 5. You can see the interval graphic glitching out because it's a Codemasters game. This is just how it works. Down towards Brooklyn. No one really quite close enough to try and battle. Blacks is right there in P6. Heading around Brooklands towards Luffield. Axis we saw wasn't quite quick on the straights, but through the corners I imagine he's quite a bit quicker. It's difficult though to try and pass through said corners. They're very fast, very much one-line corners, so you can't really find a way by. Heading around Cops. Nice run there. Now towards the famous S's. You can see as well, these three starting the battle is Underwood. Trying to look around the outside of turn 10. Can't get it done there, I'm afraid. Through turn 11. Through turn 12 and 13. Oh, a bit of action behind as well. Around 14 and onto the Wellington Straight. The Hangar Straight, I should say. And towards Cops. Cops towards Stowe. Dear me. Down the inside goes Refixer at Stowe Corner. Can't quite get it done. Hash around the outside. He has better traction, better speed, so he's able to hang on to P10. Underwood's all over the back of Collider. Saucy sets a new fastest lap with a 30.0. Around the final turn and onto the Hamilton Straight. Underwood's losing a little bit of time to Collider. Collider hanging on to P8. Black Baller in P7. He's up a few positions. He's had a nice start. Axis still sitting in P6. Blacks in P5 as Captain Schmeg has left the session. Hopefully he'll be able to rejoin as soon as possible. Mighty Wombat with DRS trying to close in on Saucy, but Saucy has DRS himself. In fact, he's closing in on the race leader. Gap is now 7/10 of a second between the two cars as they head around the right-hander of Luffield. Rebellion overtaking Guitar Hero. Blockman overtaking Motion God. Down the inside of turn 6, he moves himself into P14, recovering after his earlier spin. Guitar Hero and Rebellion unable to battle just yet. Guitar Hero 8 tenths behind now. The Alpine driver is trying to close in on Rafixer. Underwood, meanwhile, is on the back of Collider, heading through the S's. Turns 10, 11, towards the left-hander of 12, and around the right-hander of 13. Then Chapel, turn 14. It's a poor run from Collider. He moves to the left to try and break the toe, potentially to try and follow the car in front as well, as Blacks and JBH battle for position side by side at the exit of the Stowe, and Blacks wins that battle. He's fourth. Collider hanging on to P8. Underwood still behind in ninth. They make their way through the chicane. Saucy sets a new fastest lap with a 29.9. As JBH has spun. He has spun at the final corner, and he tumbles down to 10th place. Will it be 11th? It will be 11th. Down to 12th, down to 13th, down to 14th place. Oh dear. Oh, and he's right on the back of Blockman. He does have to be careful though. Those tyres will be pretty hot. Oh, did he get a helping hand from behind? Oh, he might have there. Motion God, I think he might have went into the back of JBH. The Mercedes suddenly moved forward quite quickly. I think he got a hit up the rear. Guitar Hero not close enough to attack into Brooklands. Not quite close enough. Oh, close enough though is JBH and Blockman. Side by side. Axis and Blacks are battling as well. Keep an eye on this though. Around the outside, JBH looks. Can he get the nose in front? Not quite. Blockman has the inside line for the next two corners. Most critically, he has the inside line for Cops, and he keeps the Haas in front. JBH, so he's ready to battle. And Rafixer's going to get inadvertently involved in this, as Blockman goes around the outside of turn 10 to take P12. What battling going on here? Oh, as Rafixer makes a mistake. Contact spinning! Goes Rafixer! There at turn 13. And he tumbles down to 15th place, as Blockman will pass Guitar Hero for P11. Meanwhile, these two have been scrapping it out for P4. Blacks and Axis. 0.3 of a second separating these two cars as they head their way onto the Hamilton Straight with only 5 laps to go. Around turn 1, into turn 2, then towards Village. Turn 3, will we see an overtake from Axis? Not yet, not just yet. There is Black Baller just behind. Collider and Underwood following suit. As Rafixer pits. Must have got damage with that spin. Towards Brooklands. Turn 6. Axis not close enough to attack just yet. See Black Baller's under a bit of pressure as well. The Alpine of Collider is right on his gearbox as they head around turn 7 and onto the old pit straight. Mighty Wombat on the back of Saucy, who was on the back of Nico. So we got a 3-car fight at the front. Through the S's, turns 10, 11, through 12, and into turn 13. Can Saucy try and create something? I don't think he can. He's too far back. And being in this 3rd place position in the train, Mighty Wombat can't do anything either. He's relying on Saucy to get up close to Nico and try and battle. He just can't do anything at the moment, Wombat. He can just watch. Axis losing a little bit of time to Blacks. And the battle's still very much on between these two cars, as JBH is overtaking Guitar Hero for P12. Onto the Hamilton Straight, up towards turn 1. Gap hovering now at 6.5 tenths, make that 7 tenths. Blacks probably has a car that has better straight line speed. Axis faster through the turns. He's able to make up time through the middle sector. Sort C chipping away at the gaps. Now 3.5 tenths between the top two as Captain Schmeg has rejoined the session. Mighty Wombat hovering behind, waiting for a moment to strike. Coming out of turn 7, up towards turn 8. Wombat sitting in the slipstream. He's unable to do anything. Saucy's Red Bull looks pretty quick down the straights. Through Cop's Corner, up towards the Maggots and Beckett's S's. 3.5 tenths separate these two cars. 3.5 tenths separate these two cars. Can Saucy line up and overtake here? Around Chapel, onto the Hangar Straight. Doesn't use any battery because he doesn't really have any. He's got 11%, but he is still closing in. The gap now 0.2 of a second between the top two. And there's Wombat just hovering behind. Battle's definitely on between these three. It'll be interesting how it resolves itself in these final few laps. Axis still behind Blacks. Black Baller hovering behind the Aston Martin, heading through the Vale chicane, around the final corner and onto the Hamilton straight, as I believe Captain Schmeg is taking control of his car. Kaleido in P7, Underwood P8. Then it's a 4-second gap between himself and his teammate Hash in P9. Rebellion rounds out the top 10 and the point scoring places. Nico has pulled away ever so slightly from Saucy. The gap's now 4.5 tenths. So they head through Brooklands and around Luffield. See what Saucy can do. He needs a nice run out of Luffield around Woodcote. But Nico's responded pretty well. The gap increases to almost 6 tenths between the two cars. Saucy wants to win this race. He needs a mega final couple of laps. Or will he be more concerned about the main race? Will he just take the points here, then fully focus on the main race? Or does he want to take victory? Well, I suppose we'll find out. Down the hangar straight towards Stowe. Closing in thanks to the DRS, but not by enough to attack. Bit of a similar story with these fellas behind. Axis, he has DRS, but he's not closing in by enough to try and attack the Red Bull into Stowe. So Blacks is hanging on to a 4th place here. So long as he keeps out of trouble and doesn't make any mistakes, it should be his. Sector 2 yellows, it's Captain Schmeg spinning. JBH gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Captain Schmeg is now down in last position. Blacks gets a 3-second time penalty. He got that through turn 1. Probably cut too much. He could have run too wide as well at the exit of turn 1. Either way, he's now got a 3-second time penalty. Down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands. The gap still hovering at half a second. Nico doing a superb job to hang on to the race lead. Saucy is just not in a position to try and attack the race leader. He's a bit too far behind and he can't get the run he needs to try and attack the race leader. Mighty Wombat just sitting behind in 3rd. Like I mentioned earlier, when you're the 3rd car, or even lower than that, if you're a 4th car in the train, 5th car in the train, you're stuck there. You can't do anything. All you can do is sit there and wait and hope that the 2 people at the front of the train start battling for position. That's all you can hope for. Saucy closing in bit by bit, but again, not by enough to try and attack the race leader. Around Stowe, up towards the Vale chicane. All that Nico needs to do is keep the eyes forward, not make any mistakes. He should take the sprint race win here at Silverstone. It's now the final lap, and there is a statement right there. 1 minute 29.875, a new fastest lap. Of course, you don't score any points for fastest lap in the sprint. As Blacks responds with a 29.7. Bit of a moment there at the exit of turn 3. Might have been lag that I saw. Either way, the gap's now 0.3 of a second between the top 2. Oh, Saucy's made a mistake. He has spun at turn 5. And here comes his teammate. Blacks with a whole heap of momentum. Not enough, though, to attack Saucy into Brooklands. But what a simple mistake. Through turn 5, got too eager on the throttle and the car spun out. Now down in 3rd position. That's all he can hope for. His teammate Blacks is not going to give him an easy time of things. Wombat, he's too far away. We saw those flashing red lights at the back of the McLaren. So he's got no battery left. So Nico should take victory here quite comfortably. Just needs to get through the final sector in one piece. Blacks with DRS open. Closing in a little bit on his teammate, but not by enough to attack into Stowe corner. Axis, meanwhile, is under assault as Black Baller goes round the outside to take P5. Nico, though, comes round the final turn to take the win here in the sprint race. Mighty Wombat home in 2nd. Saucy, what could have been 2nd, turned into 3rd with a mistake on the final lap. And Axis fights back, and Black Baller gets a time penalty. He was pushed wide there at the final corner. And as a result, the game gave him a warning and a time penalty. That more than likely will be looked at by the stewards, but that's going to be a massive blow for Black Baller. What looked like a fourth place finish has turned to 7th. That's not only a huge loss in points, but probably more importantly, he'll be starting right in the middle of the field for the main race. Starting from 7th rather than starting on the second row. So Axis will take P4, Black's P5, Underwood P6, Black Baller in 7th. We have Collider, Blockman, Hash, Rebellion, Motion God, JBH, and Guitar Hero. Go through the rest of the field after we get through all of this post-race stuff. Axis was given driver of the day, thanks to him recovering positions after a less than ideal qualifying session. But the unofficial results of the sprint: Nico wins from Mighty Wombat and Saucy, completing the top 3. Axis P4, then Blacks and Underwood. Black Baller P7, then Collider, Blockman and Hash rounds out the point scoring places. Rebellion P11, then Motion God, JBH, Guitar Hero, Rafixa and Captain Schmeg down in 16th position. A lag spike, eh? That's quite unlucky, Saucy. No, top 3 result. It's nice points and, again, more importantly, a nice starting position for the main race. You want to be towards the front here at Silverstone. Tough place to pass. It'll be interesting to see how everyone fares in wet weather conditions, if we have any. Oh, it is wet. It is very wet. This is the Silverstone weather that we all expect to see. The British weather. Pouring down rain. And it looks like it's probably going to be heavy wets out there, rather than the intermediates, I would think. It looks wet. Like wet, not just intermediate wet. What do I know? We'll see what the drivers start on for the formation lap in just a few moments' time. Now, drivers can make some adjustments to the setup. With the most recent patch, they actually fixed a Parc Ferme glitch where it didn't work correctly and you could just change your setup. So with Parc Ferme turned on, the only things you can change is your front wing, the differential on throttle setting, as well as your tyre pressures. So let's see what people are starting on. Yeah, it's a wet tyre. It's a blue ringed Pirelli wet weather tyre. So this is going to be a tricky start. The drivers will be crawling off the line. Drivers need to be very adaptive, because it's been a dry qualifying, a dry sprint. It's now a full wet race. So the drivers need to be switched on. They need to be focused. They need to be adaptive to the conditions. Because if you're not, you'll be caught out straight away, just like the Red Bull in the background. Black's having a moment, coming out to turn 5. Well, he got a moment out of the way. He'll tell himself, right, I can't go that quickly through Aintree. Just need to back it off a little bit. Oh, and he spins again. He'll get himself pointed back in the right direction shortly. We'll go through the order just quickly again. So we've got Nico starting from pole position, Mighty Wombat P2, Saucy in 3rd, then Axis in P4, Black's P5, who was still doing some lawn mowing at Luffield, Underwood P6, followed by Black Baller, Collider, Blockman, and Hash rounding out the top 10. Also forgot to mention, it's a nice recovery from Blockman after what happened at the beginning of the sprint race. He was shafted, he was spun after the start, literally just after the start, and he recovered to 9th. That's not easy to do, especially around this racetrack. Hash P10, then Rebellion, Motion God, JBH, Guitar Hero, Rafixa, and Captain Schmeg. He's had connection issues all season, poor fella. Hopefully he gets those resolved at some point. He's one of our veteran drivers from seasons past. I've seen races with Captain Schmeg since Season 2, so Season 7. A very capable racer. It's just unfortunate connection issues always get in the way. There's the predicted pit stop strategy. So the pit window, lap 13 to 18, basically the middle of the race. 13 to 18. But as some of you probably know, with wet weather racing, there's no mandatory pit stops. You can do an entire race on one set of tyres. So you don't need to pit. I'm just curious though, how long can those wet weather tyres last? That'll be the really important detail. I mean, naturally Silverstone is quite a high deg racetrack, so I don't think they'll be able to do one stop, but I'll be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong on multiple occasions. It won't be anything new. Alrighty, leaders are lined up. Just waiting on the AI of Captain Schmeg, and we should be ready to go. All 16 cars are once again lined up, ready to race. Where are the lights? There they are. They're starting to glow. We got 10 red lights and 26 laps in front of us, and the main race is underway at Silverstone. It's a nice start from Axis in the Aston Martin. Oh, the Red Bulls collide, and off the road goes Saucy. Oh, dearie me. Around turn 2, Mighty Wombat runs wide and drops down to 4th position. Underwood around the outside of Saucy at the village hairpin. Now into the loop. It turns to the inside for the Ferrari driver as Blacks and Wombats battle for position. Underwood still trying to keep this fight alive. Down the inside at Aintree. He gets the nose in front. Saucy runs wide, and there's Blacks with a compromise run. 2, 3 wide, heading down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands, and it's Underwood who wins that battle. He's in 4th. Around Luffield we go. Turn 7. Onto the old pit straight. Blacks is trying to fight back. He's got traction and he's got the nose in front. Blockman wants to get involved in the battle. Around Woodcote we go. Towards Cops Corner. Running wide is JBH. Through turn 9 we go. Blacks unable to battle through here. JBH just behind. Saucy down in P7. A less than ideal start for the Red Bull driver. Through the S's we go. Through 11. Through 12, into turns 13, then Chapel, turn 14, and back on to the Hangar Straight. So a few moments here and there at the start of the race, but at the front of the field, it's Nico leading the way, followed by Axis, who had a superb start from P4 on the grid. He is hunting the race leader. Less than average start for Mighty Wombat, but he's recovered decently. He's in 3rd. He did run wide at turn 2, so it could have been a lot worse for the McLaren driver, but he's still there in P3 on the podium places. Underwood, 4th, a nice start from him. Black's under a bit of pressure as JBH closes in. Not by enough, though, to attack as Hash has overtaken Blockman. Blockman counters and takes back P8. JBH, is he in a position to attack? The answer is no, he stays behind Saucy. Hash, Blockman, they're still going at it through turn 3, into turn 4. Hash has the inside line. Blockman has traction, though, around the outside, and he gets the Haas in front with a bit of a wiggle. Oh, and another wiggle, and here comes Hash to attack. They're side by side down the Wellington Straight. Towards Brooklands we go. JBH has overtaken Blacks down the inside. Oh, and a collision. Refixer is out of the race. Refixer is out, he has crashed, and we have a virtual safety car. You can see the stationary Alfa Romeo there, smashed head first into the barrier at the exit of turn. Oh, it's evolved to a full safety car. A full safety car. Oh, what's happening here? Blacks and JBH changing positions. Captain Schmeg has been given a drive-through penalty for speeding. Oh, of course, the stupid Delta here at Silverstone. The drivers need to be exceptionally careful with the Delta. It is, it's rather dumb. Well, it's dumb at most racetracks, as a fellow colleague of mine, Marco Pato, pointed out to me. But here at Silverstone, it's especially stupid. So the drivers need to be very, very careful with how they drive during this safety car period. They don't want to drive too quickly, otherwise that Delta can quite easily screw them over. Now, no one's pitting in. Unless you've got damage, no one will be pitting in. None of the leaders are coming in. So everyone's kept out of trouble. And Blacks has been given a drive-through penalty for speeding. Can you believe that? He was at crawling speed. He was crawling like a baby. And yet he was given a drive-through penalty. That is how broken the Delta is here at Silverstone. That's how busted it is. It is so incredibly stupid, but, you know, that's just Codemasters. That's just Cody's for you. So, Guitar Hero. He's moved into the pit lane, so I'm guessing he got damaged with that incident with Refixer, JBH, and Blacks. Oh, Blacks is spun, has he? Yes, he is spun. Turn 5. Now Hash has to give up position, so does Blockman. You're kidding! All of them got illegal overtakes. What ridiculousness! He had a spin. Oh my god, this game is something else. He had a spin. They all had to pass him. He's just been gifted 3 spots. That's nuts. Yeah, Guitar Hero. I'm guessing he had a front wing change. Oh, I'm not checking. KD informed me of a thing with Race Director where it can completely crash your game. I was going to check Race Director if he changed his front wing. I'm going to guess he did change his front wing. But yeah, there has been a glitch reported where if you check your Race Director, or at least in spectator mode if you check Race Director, the whole game sort of just dies, kind of, sort of. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. So we'll be spending a little bit of time here with the Aston Martin safety car, making its way around the racetrack. Why did that briefly go away for? The yellow flags and whatnot just briefly disappeared. Oh, what's happened to Hash here? He's been oh, Collider's in. Ooh. Why is Collider coming into pit lane? Is this for strategery, or is this a damage, repairing damage? Oh, he does have damage. Look, a missing end plate. So he'll get a brand new front wing. Moves on to another set of wet weather Pirellis. And thank you for informing me, Guitar Hero. Yeah, so you did have a broken front wing, so you obviously got to replace. Good to know. So yeah, Refixer got sideways and yeah, put you into a wall. It happens. Especially in these conditions. This track can be tricky enough in the dry, so in these conditions, yeah, you can have moments here and there. Main thing is that you're still in the race, and also with 15 cars, as Captain Schmeg has been given. Why is it? What? Oh, he's for falling too far back. I thought it was for speeding. Oh, I so desperately want to check race record. Hang on. No, I won't do that. I'll check stream. I don't want to risk it with the race director. Yeah, got to live. Let's see here. Going into pit lane. Yeah, falling too far back. You're kidding. He was given a drive-through penalty for falling too far back. Wow. That's rubbish. That's absolute rubbish. But completely unsurprising. If I'm not gonna lie. Oh, he's had a moment, and he's trying to let Collider by. He's not having fun out there. We're going to spend another lap behind the safety car, it seems. This is going to be a long race, isn't it? Oh, this is going to be a long one. What to do? Well, I have this sort of stuff. Don't worry about the position change icon. So who's our biggest winners and losers from this opening segment of the race? Well, Nico, he hasn't moved anyway. He's maintained his lead after the first 4 laps, beginning of lap 5. Axis is up 2. Mighty Wombat down 1. Underwood up 2. He had a nice start, Underwood. JBH up 8. I don't know what he's doing, JBH. He's just getting these starts pretty spot on. Not gonna lie. Black's P6, followed by Saucy, Blockman, Hash, Black Baller. Saucy's lost 4 places. He got collected with his teammate at the start, so it could have been a lot nastier for Saucy. But he's kept it together and he's still running. That's the main thing. Black Baller down 3, Collider down 6. He had to make a pit stop to repair front wings, so... Correct. Rebel. You can't just deliberately smash into a wall and just leave. You've got extra responsibilities tonight as you're the lobby host, which you've done a very nice job of. Well done. Yes, if you crash, you stay. So. Now, safety car should be ducking in this lap. It should be. Black's JBH, James Blaze. JBH has had a moment. We're having moments behind the safety car. Why? For goodness sake. Oh. Just keep it together, please. Just keep it all together. Look at the rain. It is pretty damn intense. If this was real life, they'd be red flagging this. But there's no such visibility issues here, we can all see. We'll send it and probably crash. That's how we do things, isn't it? Nico takes off. He's taking off right now. We'll make it straight through the Vale chicane. Very sensibly, very cautiously. You don't want to overdo it. You can tell from the nose cam he didn't really get any oversteer. The car looked pretty stable. We're back under green flag racing. After an eternity behind the safety car. It's now lap 6 of 26. We got a really long way to go. Through turn 2, up towards turn 3. Axis trying to keep up the race leader. It's all about driving sensibly during these conditions. You don't want the car to step out on you, because as soon as it does, you ain't getting it back. Guitar Hero's dropped to last. Oh, he's doing some lawn mowing, that's why. Oh dear. JBH and Saucy battling for position through turn 5. JBH has won this battle. Switching on the battery though is Saucy. Hash has overtaken Blockman, who appears to have made a mistake. Yellows are out, it's Motion God. The other Alfa Romeo has had a moment at the same corner. Turn 5, side by side. Through Brooklands, running wide is Blockman. Oh, and hello! My goodness, it's Saucy. He had a horrible run coming out of turn 6, and he drops behind Hash. Blacks has had a moment, and he drops behind JBH. He's had a huge moment. Black Baller, contact off the road goes Black Baller. He's in the wall hard. Front wing damage for the Mercedes, and another virtual safety car that's turned into a safety car. See the yellow dot making its way out of the pit lane. It took us a grand total of 1.5 sectors. And went back under safety car condition. Oh, just red flag it. Oh. But yeah, the Red Bulls were having an awful run. Like, you saw Blacks have moments. We saw Saucy. He had a horrible... Look, he's got complete front wing damage as well on that Red Bull. Yeah, I believe... he and Black Baller came together. What's happened with Motion God? Went behind. Oh, interesting. So yeah, a few drivers will be coming in. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised it's on Reduce. Oh, Jesus! He almost goes straight into the back of Motion God. Fortunately, his reactions were pretty on point. He moves straight to the left as Motion God takes out the pit bull, which isn't very good, especially for anyone who's not using Racing Line. Motion God also gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding. You saw that Black Ball. He was almost going to go straight into the back of the Alfa Romeo. He turns hard left. He gets whatever grip he's got with that car, and he managed to avoid a collision. Really well done. But I'm not really sure. Maybe Motion God was put off by the Delta. I don't know, but he was too slow. at pit entry. Far too slow. Intermediates. Hang on. He's the only one on inters. He's taking a gamble. Which can work. I know that. From experience, in fact. In previous games, especially F1 2021, the intermediates here can work. You just need to be a bit committed to them. And you need to hope that the rain dies off. And it looks like it is dying off a little. Maybe just a smidgen. Not by enough. I still think the wet weather tyre is definitely the way to go. Well, we get to have a look at this beautiful Aston Martin safety car, which I'm not a huge fan. I'm definitely a fan of Aston Martin automobiles. Some of the most beautiful cars ever made. Can't say the same thing though about that Vantage. I don't know why, but I really just don't like a car that looks like a catfish. I don't think that's a look for a car. I don't think that works, really. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, when they produce cars like especially the DB9, that thing was gorgeous. Same with the DBS. Those cars were, oh my goodness. They were fantastic. And then you see something like that and you go, yeah, okay. It's just like catfish mixed with a bit of a modern MX-5. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me, personally. It just doesn't look right. Oh, we'll be waiting a long time, won't we? Well, hopefully we go back on the green flag racing at the end of this lap. What shall we do? Can we look at how... Ooh! That's a nice looking helmet. Nice blue and orange. Coupled with the white and black. That actually looks pretty sick. Not gonna lie, that helmet looks pretty damn nifty. With Axis... Not sure, that might be the default helmet. Not sure. Need a closer look. I think that might be one of the default helmets. Wombat's got essentially a Lando-esque helmet that isn't the Lando helmet. Quite a nice looking helmet though, I like it. Very vibrant, very obvious. What helmet is that for Underwood? Can't tell from the top of it. That might be one of the new helmets from the Podium Pass. Oh, I bought one of them recently. Yeah, I can't quite tell from that angle. Nice little triple stripe there for JBH. Black helmet, white and red stripes, very nice. Bright white helmet for blacks. I think that's the Pipeworks helmet. Bright white with the red decals and a yellow visor from the looks of things. Yellow top part of the visor. Oh, Hash and Underwood have the same helmet. Look, top is exactly the same. We're going to be spending another lap behind the safety car? Is that what we're doing? Oh, come on. Oh, that's a late call. That is a way late call. Oh, that's rubbish. So the game has decided to pull the safety car in literally last second. Oh, Blacks gets a 3-second time penalty. Somebody is going into pit lane. It's Blacks. Rebellion is going in. Some of these guys are pitting for intermediates. I would think. I'll keep up the tyre graphic. We're back on the green flag racing. It's lap 9 of 26. We've still got a long way to go. Through turn 1 into turn 2. Axis is on the attack. Can he find a way by into the hairpin of 3? The answer is no. It's not close enough. Blacks and Rebellion are Blacks has moved on to the intermediates. Oh, down the inside! A gamble and a half there from Axis. A big old send down the inside at turn 4. Coming out of Aintree now and onto the Wellington straight. Axis not close enough to finish the battle. He started. Will he send it here into Brooklands? The answer is no. So Blacks is onto a new set of wets. Rebellion's onto a set of... Oh, he tried to serve a drive-through, didn't he? He's got... Yes. Drive-through. Never mind. He tried to serve a drive-through, but the game actually serviced him instead. So he has to go back into pit lane and actually properly serve the drive-through. up towards the S's of Maggots and Beckett's. Through they go. Wombat, he is lurking behind. Motion God has had a moment, bringing out yellow flags. Rebellion, though, he's taking a gamble. He's moving on to the Inters. He's a long way behind Motion God, who was actually the first place driver on the intermediate tyre. Has it actually been a godsend strategy for Motion God? Has he actually made this work? Other drivers are staying out. They feel like it's still wet. Still wet weather conditions. Through the Vale chicane and around Club Corner, back on to the main straightaway. Big wiggles there from Mighty Wombat as he's desperately trying to put the power down around the final turn. Saucy sets a new fastest lap down in P9 through turn 2 up towards turn 3. All of these guys separated by half a second. None of them close enough to really try and battle one another. You can understand why Axis went for that move at turn 4. And he's got a run. He has got a run. Coming out to turn 5, he is on the back of the AlphaTauri. But look at the straight line speed it has. It just pulls away. And Axis cannot do a thing about it. You see the rain? It's lightening up. It is lighter. Guys are still staying out there on their full wet tyre. Onto the old pitch straight, heading up towards Copse Corner. 0.4 of a second separating the top two cars. Axis will be closing in through this section. But we saw on the previous straight down the Wellington Straight how much speed Nico has in that AlphaTauri. And Axis, he can do all he wants in the corners. Doesn't mean a thing, because Nico's got the straight line speed to just pull away. See there, just making that gap hover at half a second. Collider looking around the outside here. Sorry, Blockman looking down the inside of Collider. Battling for P7 on track. Collider looking down the inside now at Vale, which turns to the outside. Blockman gets in front. He has the advantage contact, I think. And here comes Saucy. He's going to become involved in this battle. Heading up towards turn 1. And towards turn 2. Blockman, he could line up an overtake if he really wants to into 3. He closes in deep. There's Saucy just hovering behind. Axis again has a run. He's right on the back of the AlphaTauri, giving him a push. But again, he's dumping his battery, but look at it go! Look at that AlphaTauri just fly away down that straightaway. Because of that, Axis just can't do a thing into turn 6. Can't do anything into Brooklands. 0.2 still separating the top two. 1.5 now as they head down the old pit straight towards Copse Corner. Axis closing in, but not by enough as they head through Copse. Oh, you can see there, Axis absolutely spot on with the apex. Nico, on the other hand, missed it by a fair chunk, but he's still got a nice run heading into the S's. So you can hear the engine, the subtle throttle movement. You have to be so careful through the corners to not be too eager on the accelerator. See as well, he's got +4 laps of extra fuel. He's got tons of extra fuel in that Aston. They head into the Vale chicane, still 4.5. You can hear the throttle. It's being very gentle. Got drivers in, I guess. JBH and Hash coming into the pits. Black Baller coming in too. You can see the rain is quite light. Yellows are out. I believe it's Motion God. And the pit lane is awfully long here at Silverstone. It is awfully long, thanks to how slow you go through the pits. So where does Motion God come out relative to everyone else? Will he come out behind or in front? Well, he's making his way through the chicane of Vale and up towards Club Corner. Mercedes is about to leave the pit lane, so he's not got JBH. He might get Hash and Black Baller though. Here you go, through turn 1 into turn 2. Motion God does not get Hash, he only gets Black Baller. And Rebellion, with that pit stop at the end of the safety car period, has quite frankly backfired. If he made that pit stop at the beginning of that safety car period, probably would have worked dividends. But, yeah, just didn't quite work for Rebellion. Coming out of Chapel and onto the hangar straight. Axis sitting in the slipstream, but just not closing in. He cannot get himself in a position to attack the race leader. He is stuck in P2. He's got all this speed through the corners as Nico, I believe, is pitting. The race leader has come in to put on the intermediate tyre. Top two stay out though. Interesting. Axis and Mighty Wombat stay out. Axis sets a new fastest lap. A 43.4. Perhaps an indication that, you know, it's still peak conditions for the wet weather tyre, but the conditions are definitely improving. Because I haven't seen anyone on the Inters set a new fastest lap. But now with a few more drivers on the tyre, maybe we'll see the time start to tumble. Now Nico, he'll come out in front of JBH. Blockman gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. JBH will come out in front of Collider. Collider slots himself into P9. Underwood, Wombat battling for position as they head through Luffield, turn 7. Underwood looking around the long way. Mighty Wombat with the inside line is able to get in front, and he hangs on to P2. Underwood is attacking though, around the outside of Woodcote, heading up towards Cops Corner. Underwood gets in front, and there's nothing Mighty Wombat can do except slot in behind the Ferrari as they head out of turn 9 towards the S's. Blockman runs wide. That's probably a warning. So they head through the S's, turns 10, 11, into turn 12, then turn 13. Wombat 2/10 behind. Can he line up? Oh, he almost put himself out of the race there. He had a moment and a half, but he caught it well. Closing in down the hangar straight into Stowe. Can't attack. Underwood. Axis is going into the pits. Underwood's in, so is Mighty Wombat. Blockman stays out. Saucy is in. So where does Nico come out relative to the leading pack? Saucy gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. His main rival is Axis in the Aston Martin. He pushed ridiculously hard on that lap, and a moment from Nico at the exit of Stowe, losing the back end, losing precious tenths of a second. Yellows are out. It's Motion God making a mistake. Here we go onto the main straight. Keep an eye on that green dot leaving the pits. He's got him comfortably. The undercut. Oh, no, he doesn't. There's Axis. I thought he had a bigger margin than that. I was trying to search for Axis coming out of the... He's moved on to another set of wets. He has not moved on to the intermediate tyre. He's on the wets. And he's fighting round the outside of turn 5. Oh, in contact. And around goes Nico. Around he goes at turn 5. The undercut did not work. It did not work at all. In fact, it's backfired. Drivers are stuck to the wet weather tyre. And it's worked for Axis. A small bit of contact between himself and Nico resulted in that spin. But Nico was in front by about half to about 7/10 of a second before the pit stop. Axis was able to draw alongside coming out of the pits. I thought he was well behind. No. He drew alongside him coming out of the pits. And because of that battle, Nico spun. I do believe even if there is a report about that, it will be more than likely chalked up as a racing incident. It was tight racing, small contact. You know, they're just racing hard out there. And unfortunately for Nico, he got the short end of the stick. But that happens. That's racing sometimes. So that means the new race leader is Guitar Hero. Blockman has moved on to the intermediate tyre. Guitar Hero, who, need I remind you, served the qualifying ban, is now leading this race and could theoretically get to the end. JBH, though, has just set the fastest lap of the race on the intermediate tyre. Those inters aren't bad. They are not bad. JBH is making the most of them. We'll keep an eye on the gap, though, between JBH and Axis. Through Brooklands, heading up towards Luffield. Axis closing in on his teammate. Will Guitar Hero open the door? He could theoretically make it to the end. Guitar Hero. With those tyres. It won't be terrible compared to Axis right now. Axis will have it. Oh, running wide is Guitar Hero. And through goes Axis. Well, that was made easy for Axis with that little mistake. Guitar Hero has to relinquish the race lead and move into second. Now he has to worry about JBH, who was sitting 2.7 seconds behind Guitar Hero. Or behind Underwood. Mighty Wombat battling for position. Wombat on the intermediates, Underwood on the wets, and here comes Wombat with a whole heap of speed, and he moves himself into fourth. Rain has definitely lighter compared to previous parts of this race. Axis sets a new fastest lap. Can JBH respond? No. No is the critical answer and all of that. Axis is the fastest car out on track right now, and he's on wets. This battle is still alive there between Underwood and Wombat. Collider is closing. Axis has got some serious pace right now. And Guitar Hero, he needs to act as a wall. Because JBH is closing in, that is expected. JBH is on good form. He's closing in 10th by 10th, corner by corner. The Guitar Hero needs to try and hold up Axis if he can, just for a little bit. Try and increase the gap. See Underwood, he's still fighting Wombat as they head out of Luffield, around Woodcote, down the old pit straight and towards Cops Corner. Gap's now sitting at 7.5 tenths though, so Underwood can't battle through here. Look at that gap, it's increasing. So maybe, just maybe, it's now started to turn over to the intermediate tyre. Maybe. So difficult to say. Very interesting conditions here at Silverstone. JBH down the hanger straight, sitting in the slipstream, closing in, dumping his battery as well. JBH, he needs to get by as soon as possible. He's looking around the outside, trying to look for an over-under. Oh, he doesn't get the traction down on the exit though. Guitar Hero covers the inside line, heading into Vale. Oh, but JBH, he has the inside line at turn 17. He's able to get the position, and he's into P2. But the gap now between the top two cars is sitting at 6 seconds. Guitar Hero trying to counter, looking down the inside of turn 1. Wombat is just behind as well. You can see the McLaren. Off the track goes the Aston Martin there. Somehow Guitar Hero didn't lose control, and through goes Mighty Wombat into third. Understeering wide there through the loop. Wombat loses time. Now JBH, there is the target way in front. Is Axis to it's 6.1 seconds between the top two as Blacks has a moment coming out of Chapel. Still got a fair way to go. We've got 9.5 laps left in this race. We've got a lot of laps to go through. JBH, he's actually lost time. The gap's now 6.4 as Underwood has overtaken Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero off the racetrack there briefly. They go through Cops Corner. Collider will find his way by. He tries to draw alongside the Aston Martin. He just lets him through. Guitar Hero has let him through into P5. He doesn't want any bar of this battle. He just wants to finish. Down the hanger straight. Up towards Stowe Corner. JBH not closing in. Oh, he's closed in a bit. 6.1. Axis has still got good pace on these wet weather tyres. Making full use of them. Onto the Hamilton straight. It's now 9 laps to go here at Silverstone. JBH has to close in a little under a second a lap to the race leader. And he needs conditions to swing in his favour as soon as possible. Underwood under attack. Yellows are out again. It's blacks. And oh, spinning is Underwood. He has spun at the exit of turn 2. Oh, and he puts it into the wall while he tried to flick spin it back in the right direction. He just clipped the wall. He might have got rear wing damage from that. Oh dear. Simple mistake. Very easy to do in these very tricky conditions. He's now down in 10th position behind his teammate. Through Brooklands. Into Luffield. Nico, he's got a ton of work to do. He was out in front leading every lap of this race. But after a small bit of contact between himself and Axis, he's now down in 7th. Fair bit of work to do. Yellows are out again. It's Underwood again. This time he's doing some lawn mowing on the inside of Luffield. And he rejoins safely down in P11. Axis holding on to the race lead. 6 seconds, just under 6 seconds. It's Guitar Hero. He's having an excursion on the inside of turn 12. And he rejoins down in P9 behind this entire train. As Blacks has retired, he just crashed out of turn 3. And we have another safety car. The safety car has been deployed for the 3rd time in this race as soon as Axis pitted in. Oh, and look, drivers have stopped. This is for the Delta. This is how stupid the Delta is. They have to stop to make sure they don't get a time penalty. It is quite frankly insane that they have to do something like that. But they do. And it's the same thing in the dry conditions as well. So this has helped Axis quite a bit. Thanks to the ridiculous Delta. Will he come out in front of Blockman? That's the question, I suppose. Don't think he will. Maybe Nico? No, he won't come out in front of Nico. It'll be close enough. He comes out behind. So now on fresh intermediates, he's down in P6 with a fair bit of work to do. New race leader is JBH, but he has a time penalty. Oh, this is a head scratcher, this one. Who's going to win this race? And will we see another safety car? We've seen 3. This is number 3. We've still got heaps of laps to go. Drivers pitting in for fresh tyres. Why not? Might as well take the gamble. Put on some fresh rubber and just send it. Oh dear. So, alright, let's go through it. JBH is leading the way, and he's got a time penalty next to his name. He's got 3 seconds next to his name. Mighty Wombat P2 with no time penalties, with Collider in 3rd. He's on slightly older tyres than Mighty Wombat, but that doesn't really matter in intermediate conditions. They're basically the same. Blockman's got a time penalty next to his name. He's got 3 seconds. Same with Hash down in P8. Saucy's got 5 seconds after he sped into the pit lane. I think it was speeding. I don't think it was for severe collision. So he won't be able to get that removed. Nico is in P5. He was leading the race earlier before his incident with Axis, who is now behind him. So Nico, he's got pace, but to overtake in these conditions, you need to be bloody committed to try and get it done. So, I have no idea who's going to win this race. Could be anybody at this stage. We could have one massive accident where half the field's involved and can completely change the predictions I'm thinking of inside of my head. So, at this point, Mighty Wombat's in the best position to win. He's got fresher tyres than some of the other drivers around him. He's got no time penalties in his P2, compared to the current race leader, who has 3 seconds. Now, if JBH has got pace, which he has shown, if he builds up that 3-second margin within the laps remaining, he can still win this race, but he needs to build up that margin. For some reason, why do we have drivers overtaking one another behind the safety car? Just quite simple, fellas. Just give each other a bit of room, a bit of breathing space. You don't need to do stuff like that where you draw alongside the guy in front of you. Just give yourself some room. Seen this far too many times where drivers just get really comfortable driving next to one another during a safety car period. And we know what this game is like. It's an absolute mess during periods like this, and penalties start getting dished out. So, yeah, just give each other some breathing space, for goodness sake. Oh, we're still going to wait a while for the safety car to come in. This will help everyone who doesn't have a time penalty. Fewer laps would be a huge benefit for them, because for drivers who have time penalties, they need as much time as possible to try and build up gaps to the cars behind so they can minimise the time loss. So with fewer laps, it just hurts them. The JBH, he'd be praying for the safety car to come in. Unfortunately, Rebellion and Motion God, they're a long, long, long way behind. They've got a lot of catching up to do. So we might go through the full count of laps behind the safety car, and then it comes in. We'll see what it does here. Lap 20-26, so we've got 7 laps to go. It'll be 6 laps when they cross the line. Yeah. This is going to be very interesting. See what happens. Rebellion's catching up to the back of the train. We'll still be waiting on Motion God, who's on wet weather tyres. Like, everyone's moved to inters. Motion God, meanwhile, has stuck onto the wet weather tyre. So, yeah. His tyres will be hot. They'll be burning, so... Strange, strange, strange. It's all just strange. I've got next to no idea what's happening out there. Absolutely no clue. Changing to position change, you can see how much it's changed thanks to the several safety car periods we've had. JBH up 12 places, Collider up 5, Blockman up 5, Guitar Hero up 5, Nico down 4, Saucy down 4, Underwood down 5. We've had these huge shufflings in the order. Nothing's remained consistent at all. So... Oh, and he's backed off quite a bit. JBH needs to catch back up. Just notice as well, the windscreen wipers on the Aston Martin, they don't function at all. It is raining, but they're not moving, so... You know, little intricate details that Codemasters just don't bother to add in anymore. See, no windscreen wipers at all on the car. None, nothing. Bird Maylander can see through the water on the windshield. The Goatman himself. Yeah, no, you can see no windshield wipers whatsoever. Virtual Burn Maylander. He's just a goat. That's all he is. He knows what he's doing. Safety car's in this lap, so it was the full count. So the safety car will duck back in, and for some reason the track's been shown under green. It bloody well shouldn't be, but it is. Too true. Doesn't want to see the hood of the car as well. Quite right. So, JBH controlling the field, getting ready for the race restart for the 3rd time. And we still have enough laps for one more safety car period. If we want to see one final twist in this tail. JBH heads around Club Corner. We'll go back on the green flag racing. It is 5 laps to go here at Silverstone. Through turn 1. Towards turn 2. Mighty Wombat 4.5 tenths behind. Make that 5 tenths as they head towards the hairpin of turn 3. Not close enough to battle JBH just yet, as they head around the hairpin of turn 4. So battling going on in the background though, as Blockman, Nico and Axis are really starting to squabble for position. Hash wants to move forward as well, as JBH has already got 1.2 seconds on Mighty Wombat. He's pushing hard, so is this man. Nico down the inside at turn 6. Side by side, oh, just can't get it done. Blockman was able to maintain that outside line pretty well. Was able to carry plenty of speed, and Axis down the inside at turn 7. Can he get in front of Nico? He is trying, and he is in front. They make contact again. This time, oh, loses the back end. Axis runs wide, and Nico gets a 3-second time penalty. And hello, Saucy, how are you doing? Trying to have a go down the inside at Corp's corner. They're going to battle side by side heading into turn 10. No. Oh, and almost contact between Saucy. Oh, and Nico runs off. Oh dear, oh dear. As Rebellion gets a 3-second time penalty. Oh, that was an interesting rejoin. Fortunately, no contact. Nico's now down in P10. He's had a shocking restart. He hasn't been able to move forward. He's only moved backwards, and he's been given a time penalty as well, just to add a bit of extra salt into the wound. Guitar Hero close, but not close enough to battle Hash in front. Out in front, JBH, 1.1 seconds. He needs to push like hell to try and take this win. He needs to put together 4 perfect laps. All of them back to back. Cannot put a foot wrong if he wants to take this win. Wombat, he just needs to keep it composed and stay within 3 seconds of the race leader. It's not rocket science, he just needs to drive well. That's all he needs to do. Collider, a bit of a similar story. He's looking at a podium finish as Axis gets by. Blockman has spun. Blockman has spun at turn 5. He's gone deep into the gravel trap on the outside of Aintree. How has he done that? He's lost control of the car big time, and he's down to 13th place. Another note as well, so long as you finish this race, it's points. It's guaranteed points. You just need to finish at this stage. Get it home, get it to the checkered flag, or at least be classified. Through the S's, the gap still hovering at 1 second. Wombat hasn't closed in, but he doesn't need to. JVH needs to do the hard work to pull away, and he hasn't done it. So Wombat has just closed in, just a little bit, through that middle sector. In fact, Wombat just set the fastest middle sector there. You can see the purple sector light up there on the mini-map. Out of Stowe, heading towards the Vale chicane. Through they go, through Vale, through turn 16 and 17, and up towards turn 18. JBH sets a new fastest lap. That's beaten by Mighty Wombat. Collider doesn't beat it. Axis does with a 40.5. Saucy then crosses the line in P5, followed by Hash and Guitar Hero. Behind them is Black Baller, Nico and Underwood. A battle for P8, 9 and 10. Heading up towards turn 3 now. Can Underwood, can Nico battle for position? Nico's close. Oh, can't get the run heading into the loop. Maybe he can get a run out of it. Not quite. Black Baller with the outside line is able to put more power onto the road, and here comes Underwood. He draws alongside the championship leader, heading into Brooklands. Nico looking to keep the position. Oh, runs wide though. That's probably... Oh, almost contact between the two cars. Underwood runs very wide there and drops in behind Nico down to P10. Nico's lost time to Black Baller. Underwood attacking. Nico losing control but gathering it up nicely around Cop's corner. Underwood gets a really nice run. He's not close enough to attack the AlphaTauri through this section. He'll stay behind. Out in front though, JBH, Mighty Wombat, half a second separating these two. Will Wombat go for it? Will he want to battle the race leader to secure that first place? Because JBH, if he has reason to, he could get that time penalty removed. So, you know, it's a bit of a risk if you do, risk if you don't situation for Mighty Wombat. It's a risk if you go for it, as Axis gets a 3-second time penalty. He's currently battling Collider. It's a risk that you go for it, because you two could quite easily collide. Underwood's given a time penalty. We'll bring up the penalties up now. Yeah, if you go for it, you could collide, you could spin, you could be taken out. But if you stay behind and the guy in front successfully removes the time penalty, then you ultimately come home in second. Now this will be huge for Wombat to get a second anyway, because he's in the championship battle with Nico. He's in P2 in the standings. It's a fair way behind Nico because of how he's performed. The Wombat's had very solid results race on race, and he's looking to build on that to try and mount a proper championship challenge for Nico. So the top three rather, separated by 28 points. So I incorrectly stated Wombat's in second. He's not. He's third in the standings. Second in the standings is the man currently leading this race, JBH. So they're both looking to take a massive points chunk out of Nico here at Silverstone. Both cars. This is going to be a huge result for both of them. Bit of a moment there for JBH, as Wombat is now right on the back of the Mercedes as they head through the chicane for the second last time. And around the final corner to begin the final lap of what has been a long race here at Silverstone. Lap 26 of 26. Final lap of this British Grand Prix. Through turns 1 and 2. Up towards turn 3. Collider's looking at a podium finish here. In fact, it's looking like a P2 finish. He has stayed with Wombat. He stayed with JBH. A P2 finish for him. He'll be pretty ecstatic with that. JBH should be getting the final podium spot in third. So long, of course, he doesn't make a mistake. Around Brooklands, turn 6. Then Luffield, turn 7. Wombat is close. He's hounding the back of JBH. Will he just stay behind? Will he let just JBH try and get on with it? Get to the checkered flag. Up towards Cops Corner, turn 9. Both drivers will be taking it easy through there. Saucy gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Guitar Hero gets one as well. A lot of drivers getting penalties right here at the end of the race. Through the S's for the final time. The famous Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel S's. And heading on to the hangar straight. 2 tenths, 2.5 tenths separating the top two. Wombat, he won't go for it. He doesn't need to go for it. Oh, but he gets close. He gets very close. Will he challenge here into Vale? He's trying. He can't quite get it done. JBH will come out of the Vale chicane and around Club Corner. He'll cross the line in first. He will not stay there. Mighty Wombat will win the British Grand Prix with Collider coming home in second place. JBH will complete the podium places in third. Axis in fourth, followed by Blackballer, Hash. Guitar Hero from a qualifying band to P7. I think you should be pretty happy with that. Saucy, what could have been for him. Started in the top 3, finished P8. Poor race. Even worse side for championship leader Nico. P9 for him. And Rebellion rounding out the top 10. A long race here at Silverstone. Wet weather conditions do that to races. At the end of a long, tricky, demanding race, it will be Mighty Wombat who stands on the top step of the podium. A fine drive, didn't really put a foot wrong over the course of this race. And this will be his first victory of the season. After 4 podium finishes at Spa, both the sprint race and the main race at Miami, a 3rd place finish at Spain, he'll take the top spot here at Silverstone. P2 to Collider, which I do believe is his first podium finish, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this will be his first. He's finished 4th 3 times. But unlike Hulkenberg, he actually finished on the podium. P3 will go to JBH. The Mercedes-Benz, who put together a very fine race and did cross the line in first, but was ultimately put down in third thanks to a 3-second time penalty. So, the unofficial results of this British Grand Prix. Mighty Wombat is your race winner. Collider will come home in second for the best result of the season for him. And JVH completing the podium places in third. Axis P4, followed by Blackballer in 5th. Then Hash in P6. Guitar Hero in 7th, followed by Saucy in 8th. Nico, shocker from him in 9th. Rebellion rounds out the top 10. Underwood P11 followed by Blockman and Motion God. Our final finisher, our retirements, Blacks, Captain Schmeg, and Refixer. 16 cars started, 13 cars finished. We had a 51-minute race. Absolutely long race. It's all finally come to an end. Oh. There we are. Oh, the end of another week of racing here on Race Spec. Silverstone definitely decided to turn it on in Season 7. The reason why it's well recognised as being one of the better racetracks on our schedule. Silverstone, it's always an interesting one. And next week should be hopefully as interesting, because next week we're heading over to the United States once again. This time for the US Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. As it proved last season, COTA was quite an interesting racetrack. Definitely made a couple of really entertaining races, and in fact it made probably one of the best races last season in Pacific Tier 1, where we had one of the most ridiculous battles ever witnessed, I think, in my commentary career. It was absolutely insane. So I have pretty good expectations for next week. No, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I think with everything said and done, it is time for us to end the stream. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been LaneEveringham, and we'll see you next week for round 9 of the championship at Circuit of the Americas for the United States Grand Prix. Until then, it's goodbye.